Welcome to a new Daily Top Askreddit video. Today's topic.
What's something that's so stupid that you refuse to believe is true? That parents make social media pages for their babies, kids and switch back and forth to respond to each other in comments. Well, you got me. I refuse to believe that this is true. Not only babies, kids, they do it with pets too. People who bought toilet paper because of the port strike when 90% of toilet paper is made domestically in the US. I have a bidet, I fear nothing. I have a garden hose stuck through the window. Same, and the other 10% comes by truck from Canada and Mexico. The government of the state of Rio de Janeiro here in Brazil uses public money to finance mystics to make rituals to change the weather so it doesn't rain in events like Rock in Rio. I love the theories where somebody goes through absurd lengths to achieve some end, and the end that the theory decided to come up with is something so trivial like weather at a festival. Never mind if somebody actually had this ability to control the weather that they could make a killing in the agricultural sector, or in environmental conservation. But the music festival, yeah, that's what we're concerned about. It's like developing anti-gravity so you can put it on shopping carts to avoid squeaky wheels. People that unironically believe the Earth is flat. The Flat Earth Society has members all over the globe. Yeah, I still feel like there's a joke that got way out of hand and a bunch of people are in too deep. That's why I enjoy Birds Aren't Real so much. Nobody there's taking it too seriously. At least, I sure hope so. People donating to televangelists. A certain gargoyle-looking pastor has suddenly come to mind. Motherfucker looks like the devil. I used to read a lot of medical journals. One story, one guy decided to stimulate himself by leaning his genitals against a machine. They became entangled in the machine, which threw him with such force that he was actually tossed in the air. It tore his sack open and removed one testicle. He was so embarrassed, instead of going to a doctor he stapled his sack back together. He only went to the doctor after it became horribly infected. I'd stop reading medical journals after that too. I have a friend who is an ear physician. He was describing an accident with someone sticking his hand in a machine, and said it was a degloving injury. I looked it up. I should not have. To save you from repeating my mistake, imagine the skin on your hand is a glove, and you take it off, leaving muscle and bones and such. Although, after I told this story to a friend of mine, she said, that's perfect. Now, whenever someone sends her an unsolicited dick pic, she sends back a picture of a penile degloving injury. She says they leave her alone after that. Scientology is basically someone's shitty sci-fi premise turned into a religion somehow. Edit, alright, guys, I get it. This is true about most religions. I was just specifically pointing out Scientology because it's one of the scammier and strange ones. Money laundering scheme that got out of hand. The founder, L. Ron Hubbard, was a sci-fi author before he decided to start a religion. A sci-fi author that on more than one occasion made comments to Jerry Pournelle, Larry Niven, and others in the biz that religion was the real way to make money. A co-worker some year back had said that the people and kids involved in the school shootings were actors and not real people. Basically saying that it was all a hoax. Wasn't that the Alex Jones position? Yes, the prosecution for defamation and damages from that is what is, rightfully, bankrupting him and putting an end to his bullshit show and antics. Moon landing deniers. Seriously. It's the second most debunked conspiracy behind Flat Earth. I remember an old video from some filmmaker talking about the film technology at the time. He basically said it would have been harder to fake it than actually go to the moon. At least in what the conspiracy theorists point as proof. Edit, 99% sure this is it. Courtesy of you, Admiral_Manel. An easier method is just the, why wouldn't the Soviets have debunked it if it was fake, angle. He basically said it would have been harder to fake it than actually go to the moon. It reminds me a little bit of, we all know the moon landing was staged. It was filmed by Stanley Kubrick. However, it cost an insane amount of money, because Kubrick was a perfectionist and insisted on filming on location. Maybe they went to the moon to fake it. I had a discussion with one of these people once, in which I said a moon landing requires A. a rocket, B. a metal can to put people in, and C. putting the metal can on top of the rocket. He said you can't keep people alive for a week in a metal can. I said that we have submarines, which is people alive in a metal can, so obviously it's possible. It turned out that the guy in question had himself served in the US Navy on board a submarine. He had never in all his years of being a moon hoaxer made the connection between his own service in a submarine and a space capsule. I like the counter-theory that the moon landing was faked, but they hired Kubrick to direct it and he was such a perfectionist that he insisted they filmed on location. Or Holocaust deniers. I mean, really. God bless Eisenhower. When the camps were discovered, he ordered the public affairs soldiers to film and document everything they could, saying, "These events are so horrific that future generations will refuse to believe it unless confronted with proof." Obviously there's still losers who think it's fake, but I shudder to think how much worse the conspiracy theories would be without Eisenhower's order. That and jet fuel can't melt steel beams. It sure can weaken them though. Brew, as a mechanical engineer, that one pisses me off more than you can ever imagine. I have done the actual fucking math to prove it, everything about it makes sense. A guy told me this, flat earther. The last eclipse we had was a fake. Simply just a distraction so that the government could replace the sun to better control people. Not kidding. I read that they switched the sun to CCFL or LED to save electricity. I mean that would burn cooler, so less global warming, am I right? Why not just do it at night? It's hard to find the sun during the night. COVID vaccinations had microchips or whatever used to track people. Unbelievable. People willingly carry a cell phone around, put AirTags in the cars, put Google Home or Alexa in their house to listen, put smart TVs in their house. People already carry around all of the tracking devices the government could possibly need, and the government doesn't even have to pay for those things. There's no need to put expensive microscopic microchips in vaccines. Don't forget Ring and putting literal video surveillance inside their homes. It's insane. They're using microchips in the vaccine to track people. He shouted into his smartphone while posting his 10,000th video to Facebook. That there are people who spend money on Balenciaga clothing. And Yeezy. The fact that people still believe the earth is flat. The worst part is that it's not, still, it's, again. There was a time when you'd get completely ridiculed if you had even mentioned this idea as something you believe in. Not a single sane person would treat you seriously. It was like saying nowadays that the sun is not the main source of light on Earth. To add to this, Pythagoras suggested the Earth was a sphere around 600 BC, and Aristotle had conclusive observational evidence by 300 BC. Even back then, with limited resources, there was sufficient observable evidence to support not flat Earth. That there is a government website where people can donate to reduce the national debt. It's at $35 trillion as of today. Here is the website. Oh wow, okay, take my $10 trillion. Crazy! Exclamation mark. Right. My favorite part is how on the website they call it the public debt as if it is not entirely the government's fault. Holocaust deniers. Jewish space laser. I am so sorry. Jewish space laser. Question mark. https://www.forbes.com/site/Tyler-2024/10/04/Marjorie-Taylor-Green-appears-to-dash claim-democrats-control-the-weather-after-. In since deleted Facebook posts, Green reportedly claimed the campfire that broke out in California in 2018 was caused by lasers fired from space. Green posited these lasers were powered by space solar generators, created from an investment from Rothschild, Inc. That fitting into the office culture is more important than working hard consistently. I hate that this is true. Depends a lot on the context. The guy who's a hard worker but a complete asshole makes the whole office worse. Yeah, when we interview for a position, it's super easy to know whether they can do the job or not, but it's really hard to figure out if they are actually a decent person and not a scumbag. That in the US, it is so accepted, common and even encouraged to donate to politicians who are campaigning. Yeah, like, I'm all for Kamala and will vote for her. But, girl, I don't even have money for me, let alone giving it to you. Kamala's campaign has probably been the most successfully spun propaganda machine in history. Note, I'm not saying this as necessarily a bad thing, just pointing out the power of propaganda. Nobody really liked her until Biden was out. Everyone now loves her. It has been wild to see people in real time change their opinion about her and not believe they ever hated her to begin with. Fastest successful heel face turn in history. I think part of that is just, her opponent is Trump, and everyone has an opinion on Trump, but not everything. People were always lukewarm about Biden, he just wasn't Trump. Kamala is something else entirely. It's been pretty interesting as a sideline observer. All that said, every time I see her face pop up in a donation ad while using the YT app, and here, today, not tomorrow, I get a little bit more weary of this world. Birds are fake. Place is fake. Earth is flat. Chemtrails. 5G towers cause COVID. Moon landing faked. 911. Dinosaurs never existed. Earth is only 6,000 years old. Birds aren't real came about to make fun of conspiracy theories. People now believe it's true. It's as true now as it always has been, man. I know some people genuinely believe it, but the birds aren't real conspiracy theory was actually created as satire to make fun of flat earthers and other loony conspiracies. Jehovah's Witnesses knocking on doors and convincing a handful of people to join the cult. I try to convert them back to rationality. I did it with such determination that the local JW Hall blacklisted my address. They don't visit anymore. Darn it, that happened to me, my family. I was 16 or so and they showed up a few weeks, months after my dad died. I don't recall if they offered condolences or if I told them, but they were nice to me and gave me some stuff and left. I didn't think anything of it because it was just some random people with a pamphlet and I was more accommodating to strangers back then. There was a JW girl in my school and I mentioned where I lived and she said that apparently my house was forbidden to go to because some European lady read them the riot act and absolutely went ballistic on them. My mom never told me about this and I asked her about it. Apparently they were trying to use my father's death as a way to recruit me, my family or some crap, and she laid into them so hard all they could do was apologize and get in their car. My mom was hurling expletives non-stop until they left. Time to start knocking on the doors and take the word of rationality to them, then. I'm convinced that my parents' house has been blacklisted for 30+ years. One evening when I was a baby, my parents were having trouble getting me to go to sleep. Just after I finally did fall asleep, the JWs came knocking, which made me wake up and start crying again. My dad yelled at him, "Are you gonna put the fucking baby back to sleep then?" They haven't been back since. The point isn't to convince people to join. The point is convincing people to stay in the religion. Witnesses are genuinely fairly excluded from normal society. Relationships with people who are outside the religion are frowned upon. Even things like being too friendly with people at your workplace or school are discouraged. So many, and especially the young, witnesses have very limited interactions with non-witnesses. With, of course, the exception of going door to door. And when the average interaction is people slamming the door in your face, arguing with you or just straight up insulting you, it makes it harder for witnesses to leave, because they feel like the average non-witness is a hostile person. This is why it's really important to be nice when some Jehovah's Witnesses, or any religious group, come to your door. By all means, tell them no. But do so respectfully and let them feel heard. The last time I saw any, I was out in my driveway working on my old pickup, and I was already gonna be there for a while, so I let them say what they were gonna say and offered them water. They stayed maybe a half hour. They seemed really excited to get to talk to someone past hello, for once, and I wouldn't be surprised if I was the first person under 60 they got to talk to all week.